Hello, and welcome to another video. Today I'll be showing you around my sealed deck that I played in an Innistrad Remastered preview event last weekend. We will take a look at this first because it is all still together from the event. And then we will take a look at the rest of the pool. And we can see if there was anything else in there that I could have considered building instead. So yeah, I will just take a moment to get this all unsleeved and laid out for you, and then we can talk about it. Alright, so here is the deck that I played. I was reasonably happy with this, and it was a lot of fun to play. To sort of summarize, it is a red-green, primarily werewolf deck, I would say, with a little white splash here for a couple exile effects. I would say it was fairly aggressive and caps out at 4 mana. My overall record in the tournament was 1-2, so not great, but I feel like I could have done better with this. Like, I won every single game 1 that I played, but in games 2 and 3, sometimes this would sputter out, and if my opponent played a giant Eldrazi or had too many flying creatures, that's really where this deck would struggle. I have all of this targeted removal, but not many ways to deal with a ton of flying spirits, and especially if there's a lot of life gain involved. But yeah, let's take a closer look at what I have here. So I initially landed on this deck because when I was first going through the rares, the Huntmaster of the Fells and Mare of Avrabuk really stood out to me. And werewolves kind of seemed like the most straightforward and synergistic deck that I thought I could achieve. So I threw this together pretty quickly and then immediately sleeved it up, just so I would have something in case time in the build phase expired. Although the white cards weren't in it at that point, I started with a couple artifacts in here and then added in the white later. And then I kept on experimenting. I tried building red-black and red-white. I tried white-black and white-blue. But nothing seemed quite as fleshed out as this, to me anyway. But let's finally go through. For the non-basic lands, I had an Evolving Wilds and a Sundown Pass to assist with that white splash. Looking at the 1 mana slot, we've got Voldarin Epicure, which is just kind of here. It's fine, but didn't really contribute at all to the werewolf theme. Village Messenger is a 1/1 haste werewolf that turns into a 2/2 menace. Young Wolf is a 1/1 wolf with Undying. Pretty solid. Ancestral Anger. A little awkward because it is a sorcery, but giving a creature +1/+0 and trample wasn't bad. And most of the time I just kind of wanted to draw a card. And then Borrowed Hostility was pretty solid. I was happy to put both modes to use anytime. Looking at the 2 mana slot, Maravavabrook is really good. Oftentimes, the human side of werewolves are pretty small, so giving them the +1/+1 is quite significant. And on the other side, he helps out all of your wolves and creates a wolf token each of your end steps. Runebound Wolf was great. At worst, it is a 2-mana 2/2, and it even ended a couple of games with its ability to deal damage to an opponent equal to the number of wolves and werewolves you control. Hungry Ridgewolf was fine. Just a 2-mana 2/2 that is sometimes a 3/2 with trample. Scorned Villager, just a mana dork that flips into an even bigger mana dork. But does have vigilance on this side, which is really nice, so you can attack and produce mana. And then a Braid is pretty solid. Duel for Dominance mostly just ended up being a fight spell. I guess I didn't realize that most of my creatures were all going to have the same power and toughness. So that Coven ability really didn't happen very much. Let's look at the 3-mana cards. I'm just going to move these out of the way. Alright. I kind of wish that I had more creatures in this slot. Or at least ones that mattered. The Eccentric Farmer didn't really have any business being in here. It was pretty much just curve filler. The Conduit of Storms was pretty good though. It produces mana when you attack with it, and you just pay to transform it rather than waiting for someone to not cast any spells. And it becomes one of the biggest creatures in the deck as a 5/4 Eldrazi. Stensia Masquerade. I didn't have in here at first, but was running low on playables. I just didn't really want to spend 3 mana to not really add any power to the board, but I didn't really feel like I got punished for having it in the deck. And it did lead to some pretty good combats for me. It gives all of your attacking creatures first strike, and then it's got a vampire ability, but that wasn't really relevant. I think there are 2 vampires in the entire deck, so didn't really come up much. Wild Hunger, just a combat trick that gives a creature +3/+1 and trample. Bound by Moonsilver, one of our white cards, that enchants a creature and makes it not able to attack, block, or transform. And then Clear Shot is a bite spell that gives your creature +1/+1. Then it deals damage equal to its power to another creature. Not too bad. And then finally our 4 mana cards. The all-star of the deck was definitely Huntmaster of the Fells. He is a 4 mana 2/2 that will gain you 2 life and create a 2/2 wolf whenever he enters or flips to this side. And the other side is a 4/4 trample that does 2 damage to an opponent or planeswalker and 2 damage to one of their creatures whenever it flips over to this side. Ideally, this guy is trying to flip back and forth as much as possible, which can be a little awkward with other werewolves, because those ones mostly want to flip to their backside and then stay there. So there is a little bit of friction there. Intrepid Provisioners is a 3/3 trample, gives another human +2/+2 when it enters. Had a decent amount of targets, I think. It was mostly fine. Festerhide Boar, another 3/3 trample, with potential to be a 4/4 if it's got Morbid. Smoldering Werewolf is a 3/2 that deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures when it enters, and is another one that can transform by paying mana into it. And it is a 6/4 that deals 2 damage to any target when it attacks. And then our last creature is Voldaren Duelist, which is a 3/2 haste that prevents a creature from blocking when it enters. And then Faith Unbroken is our last card overall. You enchant a creature you control. That creature gets +2/+2, and then you also exile target creature an opponent controls until Faith Unbroken leaves the battlefield. So that is the entire deck. Like I was saying, it really felt like it became difficult to close out a game if it went on for too long. Like, my largest creature overall was a 6/4, and most of the creatures up here at the top of my curve were only 3 power. So I really would have loved to see a larger creature in here. One that isn't initially a 4 mana creature that I have to pay an additional 6 into. But I didn't really have anything. I'll show you what I wasn't running from green and red. So we had Eldritch Evolution, Blood Mist, and Thermo Alchemist. I just wasn't really feeling any of these. Like, with a curve that tops out at 4, it didn't really feel like Eldritch Evolution would be doing that much. I didn't really have a huge game-winning bomb or anything like that. I maybe could have run Blood Mist instead of Stensia Masquerade, but I was kind of valuing giving the effect to all of my creatures instead of just one. I guess I could have run Thermo Alchemist, but I didn't really want a defender. So that is everything I wasn't running in my colors. Next, let's take a look at all of the rares that I opened. So that's it. Just these, plus the rares that you already saw that were part of the deck. So no need to really look at these ones again. So my first thought when seeing this was that I really hope I can play Reanimator, but that really didn't seem to be the case. I don't think we're getting there with Eldritch Evolution, and almost certainly not hard casting this. So I gave up on my dream of Gristlebrand, and nothing else in here was really of interest to me. I would consider the Mausoleum Wanderer, but I would have to see a lot more from blue before I was convinced to run it. But let's go ahead and take a look at everything else. So here is the white that I had, plus the 2 enchantments that I put in the deck. So I actually felt pretty okay about the white that I had, but I wanted to find a really strong color to pair it with, and I just didn't feel like I was getting there with anything that I tried. I was thinking maybe white blue spirits, or this didn't really seem like a compelling enough reason to try for white green, and I was really feeling like the green needed to be paired with red if anything. The Flesh Taker did interest me though, so I was wondering if we could try a black-white sacrifice deck. So let's take a look at the black. I thought we had some pretty good stuff in here as well, including another sacrifice payoff. But again, just really lacking a top end here, aside from Gristlebrand, I guess. so didn't really seem like black-white was going to work. I did look at black-red as well, but again was really feeling like red and green would work best together. So let's look at blue next. So I wasn't feeling like blue could really stand on its own. I liked some of the tempo elements that could maybe be baked into white-blue or blue-black. But this kind of felt like it was lacking real substance to me. Maybe even Esper could work, but really didn't feel like there was any top end or much to build up to with that. And lastly, you've already seen all of the multicolored cards that I had, so let's look at the colorless. Nothing super exciting here. Even the on-color Eldrazi is just an 8-mana 4/4 that makes 2 1/1s, and they don't even fly, so that's a bit underwhelming. I was running the Evolving Wilds, and I had considered the Cobbled Wings. This was one of the cards that I had in my deck before adding in the 2 white cards. So this would have been good to sideboard in, considering how much trouble I had with flying. But yeah, that is everything. Did you play in a preview event? Or will you be trying out Innistrad Remastered this weekend? I would love to know. If you do have the option, I would recommend trying to draft this set over playing sealed. It just seems like this set cares a lot about synergies and things like that, so I believe drafting would be the superior experience. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments, and I would love to chat with you. And as always, thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, I would absolutely love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll be back with new Magic the Gathering ASMR videos every Monday and Friday. Your support truly means the world to me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.